tonight you can blame on me and Mike. Everything good is because of Cindy. So, without further ado, I would like to read you a bit of wild curiosity. So here we go. The wind sheared through the ice-encrusted crevices on the summit of Telescope Peak. Frigid air blasted the bare rocks and dwarf mutant bristlecone pine that for some ungodly reason had purchased a root hold and survived in this Martian landscape. I struggled with the cord attached to the tarp, trying to get it tied down to something. It was dark. The nearest tree was 50 yards away. There was nothing to tie it to. 12 middle school students lay like stacked cordwood, shivering and crying, eyes wide in the darkness. They were scared, and with good reason. The temperature was dropping, and it was already well below freezing. With the screaming winds, the wind chill was obscene. We were at 11,331 feet. Our gear was spread out over a mile trail below. I told them to ditch their packs and hustle to the top as night fell, and the temperature went from mildly uncomfortable to face-shattering. It was December in Death Valley, California, and the whole stupid thing had been my idea. The concept had been to get the kids to hike up a peak in the winter and sleep overnight on the summit without tents. Just bivouac under some tarps, teach them how to be tough. Get them in touch with the natural world. But my hands were frozen lobster claws, and I couldn't tie the tarp down. Kids were screaming and crying, and maybe I was too. I had, in my optimism, brought a giant-sized bag of peanut M&Ms with me. This was before the peanut allergy craze and subsequent quarantine seized school in its grip. I imagined us celebrating on the peak in the early evening, munching candy and admiring the view. One of the shy, more reticent students would come sit next to me as the sunset burned vermilion over the Panamint Range and say quietly, "I never knew how beautiful the world was until you took us here, Eric." I've decided to dedicate my life to helping orphaned pandas because of your self-interest. Or something like that, but it was not turning out that way. I had to do something to salvage their fragile emotions, to delicately let them know that I was calm, in control, and that their lives were not, despite convincing evidence to the contrary, in danger. I lurched to my pack, deftly shaving layers of skin from my shins with razor-sharp slabs of rock as I flailed in the blackness. I pulled the big yellow bag of candy from my pack and hunched over against the wind, crab-walked back to where the kids were freaking out. "Here!" I yelled. "Peanut M&Ms!" It was the desperate move of a desperate man. I tossed the bag to them. One girl named Erin looked up at me with woeful eyes. "But I don't like peanuts," she said. I lost it. I had dragged these kids up here, now we were all freezing to death, and I was going to be responsible for killing them all. I was out of my comfort zone. I snapped. I tore the bag of M&Ms from the girl's hands and hurled it into the void that yawned below us, the tip of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. I was a mediocre student. It wasn't because I lacked curiosity, however. Like many kids,